Now, a lot of people may not understand the history of gang life, like in Chicago. Like, give us a little history and background of that, bro, as far as like, why was the gangs formed and how was the unity in the beginning before the split of division of why they go against each other?
I mean, you know, it was always about blocks and crews, you know what I mean? But because they're so oppressed by racism, and they all come from Mississippi, Tennessee, you know, the South.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? They come in, I would say, by them being oppressed like that, they come in looking to unify each other. You know what I mean? Because they know, you know, numbers do count.
The white man wasn't the enemy at that time.
Right, but numbers do count.
Right, right.
If one guy's across the street calling you out, you might be more inclined to go over there with that one guy and deal with that one guy than 100 or 1,000 guys.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So numbers do count. So they, you know, they figure if they unify, you know, that's more protection for them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's a fear factor here.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're being oppressed by white people. So, you know, they really scared.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you might have one brother that he may get to the point where it don't even matter no more. You know, he done been hurt so much that the only thing you can do now is to put him to sleep.
Right.
So those type of brothers, those be the one that's be in the front.
Right.
You know, I don't know if that's a good thing or not, because he already in a suicide stage. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's how the social street cliques was. You know what I mean? They was just trying to, man, you know, they coming from a broken home and they being oppressed, you know, and then on top of that, poverty.
Right.
So they got 3 strikes.
Which makes it worse.
Yeah, they 3 strikes.
Being oppressed and you hungry.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
And you coming from a broken family.
Right.
You know, somebody wasn't doing their job if your kids out here at 13, 14, 15, 16 shooting and robbing and stealing. Because you know, they still juveniles. So you have to look at the parents and say, where the hell is you at? What are you doing?
Right.
Now, you know, and a lot of the problems is if people were responsible for their own children, you wouldn't have so much chaos. I mean, you're going to always have trouble with kids.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it wouldn't be so much chaos.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Most people from the ghetto just like to drop their kids off on the school. You know what I mean?
Right.
On the neighbors. Hell, on the street. You know,
Right.
Won't even let them come back in the house until it get dark.
Right.
8 o'clock, don't go back in the house. So what the hell the kid gonna be doing out there unless you got them in a positive program?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? YMCA, you know, something.
Yeah, them centers.
Yeah. Camping, you know, learn something.
Right.
No, they out in the street where the drugs and the guns are.
Right.
And the killing, you know. And a lot of people, you know, a lot of people, they so conditioned to their life, man, they think it's normal.
Right.
You know, they sit down and talk with you about it, like, you know, basically, like, you know, they dignified by it, you know.
Right.
You know, you bragging about something that's wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? But to them, it's an honor. You know, it's like, you know, because that's all they know.
Right.
They're coming up in chaos.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they conditioned for that.
Right.
If you take them out of that, they probably lose their mind.
Right.
You know, you take the guy off the street and he ain't slanging, he ain't banging, he lost.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because he ain't been studying for no, what we call natural skill to live. You know what I mean? Which, you know, architect, stuff like that. You know, you know the guys ain't going to school.
Right.
Only time they go to school is when they in prison.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's because it's forced upon you.
Right.
You don't have nothing else, you know.
Right.
Look, every day.
Right.
See the same people in the same cubicle. You know what I mean?
Right.
Your liberty is no farther than a church. You know how big a church is, and the outside of the church. That's far as you go for 30 years.
Let me get you up. Keep playing, bro.
For sure, for sure. You know, so.
That ain't me. That ain't me. Go ahead.
That is the conditions of the cliquing, the social clubs. You know, they scared. They trying to huddle up together. You know, secure themselves, protect their lives. You know what I mean?
So gangs was first forming because they was oppressed during the time of a lot of segregation and police brutality.
That's oppressed.
So they was unified.
Right.
Okay, so what, they all up under one name?
No, because they're from different neighborhoods.
Okay,
so
but they did all understood.
They knew each other.
You know? They knew each other personally, even though they from different neighborhoods. And they knew the ultimate enemy was basically like the white man.
That was I mean, you know, well, no, I ain't gonna say the white man. You know what I'm saying? Because
the government?
No. That at that time, being oppressed, you're actually going against the systematic mentality of slavery. See, that's what you're fighting.
Okay.
Because the average white person that, you know, they can go back in their culture, you know what I mean? Oppression was not a bad thing. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like they conditioned to oppress people. You know what I mean? So you gotta remove that mentality that they've got from their parents, and you know what I mean? Because that's where the oppression and racism come from. Is passed on from one generation to another. You know, people don't naturally know the difference when a baby is born between a white person and a black person, a short person, a tall person, light-skinned person, or just thinking that they are indifferent altogether. They're not born like that.
Right.
They're born with a pure mind.
Right.
You know what I mean? In other words, they're going to build their character off what they see and they hear. You know what I mean? So they learn about the environment that they are in, and that becomes that person. Now, everybody ain't like that. You know, you got people that break away and end up, you know, doing the right thing, getting a good job, you know, living, even being millionaires, successful millionaires. Right. You know, they come straight out the ghetto.
Right.
But what is the ratio to that? 1 out of 1,000. Right. you know, anybody can get on here and say, "Wow, man, that ain't no excuse for the people you doing all that," because I would come from that same type of poverty, and look at me, you know, I own my own company, this and that. But how many people have made it like you made it? Mm-hmm. And my question with that person would be, how many people did you reach back for?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I think that's what you should be talking about.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Not this other stuff.
So so they was oppressed.
For sure. And
they came together to be unified in numbers. In case they had to deal with basically like an uprising. Like,
right.
So
what? 200-300 whites come in your neighborhood and you ain't unified?
Right.
You don't have a problem. Right. See, first you gotta set a tone to let people know, you know, this is how the street people think.
Right.
Look, me to be messing with. You know what I mean? You come over here with that, you know, you're gonna have some problem. I don't care who you is.
Did they have a leader?
Yeah.
Who was the leader at that time?
Of which club? I mean, you know, which club?
So they all because they all from different sides, so they all had leaders. But all the leaders knew each other.
For sure.
Okay. When do you think the split came in? Did the split come in among the leaders?
No. Okay, the leaders always had like different like social clubs.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, all this didn't start together. You started your thing in your area, you know, Chicago's big. I still have something over here, and as it grows, and you know, we bump heads now. Right. You know what I mean? We bump heads. And this is how we find out about each other, because I got my mob, you got your mob, another guy got his mob. You know what I mean? But now you go into the components within each of the mobs. Because when they originally started off, they just themselves, and then they start bringing in other sets.
Right.
And then they start splitting up themselves later on. You know what? Oppression, I hate to say this, and I know a lot of people might be upset at what I'm gonna say because they truly don't understand the making of this. Oppression did one thing when before we had our civil rights and what did it do? It kept us unified.
I'm gonna say that.
Because we all had a common enemy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now when you take the foot off somebody's neck, they forget where they come from.
And turn on one another.
So now what they start doing, killing each other,
Turning on one another.
beefing with each other.
Right.
Hard.
Yeah.
They weren't killing like that in the 60s with each other. They will fight every once in a while.
And it would look shameful to some degree.
Yeah, because these guys,
It's bad enough they was already getting killed. We already getting killed and arrested and oppressed. And
there's no history of
some
hard banging in the 60s, man. You know, we would fight and stuff like that. You don't get into that division until them guys get older in the 70s.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So let me ask you this. So we get to the 70s where the split come in. Right. Did the split have anything to do with?
You got your civil rights now, so.
Right. So the civil rights.
Did you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that changes the mentality of people now.
How so?
How so? The law was segregation, right? You don't have that no more.
Right.
So there's no need to be like I once was.
Okay.
Because I'm not in that condition no more. I'm in a different condition now.
Right.
So now, what is my new adaptation to this new condition that I'm in? It's almost like a new life. You know, it's like when a guy get in jail, he got a lot of time, and they change the law, and that allows his time to be minimized, and then he come out on the street after 20, 30 years. That ain't the same guy that just went in there 20, 30 years ago. You know that, right? His condition is different.
Right. Right.
So now he think different. Right. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So now he become organized.
Right. So the 70s during the civil rights brought the split.
I ain't gonna say it brought the split, but had they not had their civil rights, I don't think that it would have been as extreme as it ended up being in the 80s and 70s and 90s with them banging, like, you know, all the banging and stuff, because you didn't have time for that. So being oppressed.
So right. So to some degree, when the oppression started to lift some, it allowed people to not be so threatened by it to the point that
now they're looking at each other.
Right. When at one time we all needed each other.
Yeah, we were
when we needed each other, we stood together.
Right. We gotta come in.
Yeah. And cause these people ain't playing.
No, they ain't playing.
They lynching and hanging and popping and giving you cases for real.
You fighting the system.
You fighting the system, right?
There's always segregation. So every police out there, his job is to enforce segregation. That is the law. Right.
It is the law. That's true. It is the law. Can't eat here. Can't drink here. You're not allowed in here.
That's crazy.
What you doing here? Right.
The same people that you expect to help you, the same people that put you in that position, in that condition in the first place.
Right. That's crazy.
How ironic is that?
That's crazy. Never really thought about that.
Now,
did y'all catch that? Because that is real and true. Like that segregation is actually it was the law. The law. The real law. You're not allowed in here. You can call the police and have you arrested. What are you sitting up here for? What is you, even with Rosa Parks? What are you doing? Get back there.
Nothing you can do.
You give up your seat.
Yeah.
Give up your seat.
Get in the back.
Right.
In the back. You know.
We don't care about you being tired.
No. We don't
care about how hungry you is. What you doing in the bathroom? That's the law. Right. You're right.
So you take that away. Right.
Whole nother different angle, but you know what's crazy? This is actually something that's not talked about in this type of way. I have heard people talk about it, but not like this. And this is actually the truth. The truth, the unheard truth. That is real though. So we was unified when we had a common enemy. And it was a real threat because again, they were whacking cats for real. Then they had their own little private vigilante with what they did with the Aryan Nation, the Ku Klux Klan, the thing. So you only got the system that's in play that's doing. Then you also got
the little pockets they got.
Right.
Well, the white gang.
Right. And
the Klan, the biggest gang in the country at the time. They had,
and at that time they had
1 million followers, probably more than that. But they had 500,000 women.
And it made them easier to come in to black communities and do what they do because they wasn't unified.
I got 1 million people in my mob, man.
Yeah.
The Klan, if you look at the Klan's membership at the time, how deep they were,
right?
Man, look, they would come to any city. It ain't nothing for 300,000 militia like racist, confused white people to come to your city and burn that motherfucker down.
Back when they fathers and grandfathers and
the mayors
and right, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the president,
right?
You know what I mean?
yeah. Senate, like
okay. Listen, this is one thing that everybody need to understand. If segregation is the law, the president is the top police for the country. He run the executive branch. He over all police officers.
Right.
All of them.
Right.
All prosecutors, whether they state prosecutors, federal prosecutors, don't matter. He's over all the police system.
Right.
The only thing he's not over is the judicial system, which is the judges.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And the legislature branch, which makes and creates the law.
That's actually one of his titles. Go ahead.
He's the executive branch. He ain't to be played with. That means he the only person that is over the military.
Right.
And he got his private military, which is the Marines. He can move them without permission from Congress.
Right.
Really the only reason why he go to the House, which is called the purse, to get permission is because he need the funding to move his troops. See, they got to get a funding. Other than that, he'll be something to deal with.
Right.
It's called checks and balance. You know what I mean? Each house, each institution is checked by the other one as far as you can't do this.
To keep them in order.
Right, because if you give them too much power,
and
you go back to dictatorship.
This shit. Right.
Right, so I remember when people were saying, the Trump he finna flip this and make it to dictatorship. I said, well, then you got to tear down the Congress and the Senate and the judicial branch.
Right.
They don't know their branches of government. The president is just the executive branch. Then you got the judicial, and you got the legislature branch. You know what I mean?
Right.
He don't run neither one of them branches.
Right.
You know what I mean? So for him to be a dictator, he's got to crush them institutions. Right. You got to crush the Congress, and you got to crush the judicial branch. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that is impossible.
And it never happened.
No, it never happened.
That's why when people talk, they ignorant. Okay, so they unified because they oppressed.
Right.
They unified because they oppressed. Then once,
and you got to remember, they unified to a certain degree.
To a certain degree,
because they still killing each other too, even now. But they not going all in at each other because they got a common foe. You know what I mean?
Right. So you believe it's the civil rights movement hit, and then laws is now being in play, giving blacks the rights and things to
took a dog off a leash.
Took a dog off a leash, right?
You know what's gonna happen? They're gonna run wild.
So then come in. Do you think? Okay, we got to get into conspiracy theories now. So, because we still dealing with a government that's ahead.
Remember, what this is a theory, it's not a fact. You know what I mean? It's just our opinion about a situation. You know what I'm saying? So we theorizing on the situation. You know what I mean?
So the government is aware, certain people in play, even let's say the Kennedys. They knew that the Kennedys was going to support, you know what I'm saying, the civil rights movement as a means for political power also. So that's probably the reason why all of them got whacked too.
The president, everybody got whacked.
Their whole family, they wiped them Kennedys out. That was terrible, man.
And then, the Kennedys, the Kennedys was almost asleep with what was going on with white and black America. Because, you know, the Kennedys is from Ireland.
Right.
So they trying to work, you know, Joe Kennedy, all them from Ireland. So they got some mean things happening in Ireland with the IRA, the Irish Revolutionary Army, who was fighting against the United Kingdom, which is England. You know, they didn't want to be a part of that. They wanted a part of Ireland to be separated and be its own little area. You know what I mean? Like the Palestinians been fighting for the longest. You know what I mean? They was on something like that. You know what I mean? So, you know, the Kennedys come from a oppression country anyway. Right. The Irish, the Scottish were always pressured and pressed by the English. Right. Everybody knew that. Right. You know what I mean? So they had other problems because they still in contact with their country, you know, where they come from, you know, different from us. We come from all different places. And that's why, you know, it was hard for us to identify with anything, you know what I mean? Because we don't have anything. Right. All we have is the United States. Right. We're not connected to another country. It was amazing because I was listening to some stuff with Nipsey Hussle about, you know, his father being from Africa, by Ethiopia or somewhere. He from Ethiopia or something like that, right? And he was able to go over there, you know what I mean? So he get a different experience. See, and people used to be like, man, there's something about that guy. Yeah, that guy connected with another country. Right. You know? Right. He know his history. Right. You know, all you know is your history in America. You can't go no farther than that. Right. You know, this man father's from another country and he was able to go to that country and see Ethiopia. So when he, you know, he come back to LA, you know, he's not what you think he is. He's not like everybody else. Right. He can identify with something other than the United States. Right. You know, people be like, well, I'm from Africa. My people from Africa. Where? It's a continent with many countries. Right. Right? So which one of these countries you from? Nobody knows. Right. So when you take a guy like that, because, you know, you ever listen to some of Nipsey music? No. Rest in peace to Nip, good brother. And I'm listening to his music, you know, and it's all right, you know. And I'm like, okay, but what is, you know, where's his spirit at? You know what I mean? And then when you hear his documentary on who he is, right, then you understand, oh, he know his purpose in life. You know what I mean? He know his roots. Okay. And it's not the root of the United States of America. You know what I'm saying? His roots is in Ethiopia. And he got direct ties to that. You know what I mean? Okay. So that's what made him really like that. You know what I mean? Okay. So you lift up oppression. Now you take the dog off the leash. They targeting each other. That's right. So back to the ain't messing with us. We're gonna start messing with each other. You know that. Okay, hold on. Gotta get to this.